had prepared to say good morning to each one of you, but as we know, I will be the first one to say good afternoon to you today. Thank you so much, and it becomes so much more easier when a very strategic customer of ours and partners of ours has just done a session around how they have transformed. So clearly the job becomes so much more easier. But let me just quickly start off with these images. Just a quick raise of hands if any of you understand and can relate to what these three pictures are trying to say. I'm not going to be asking any of you, but maybe if you are able to relate to what this could mean. Nobody? Okay, great. Let me just talk about what this talks about. There is fire, there is cooking, and there is brain. And there is this research which essentially mentions or identifies that cooking and the discovery of fire basically led to cooking and led to the human brain's evolution, because the raw food, that whether it was meat or whether it was even vegetarian food that people were eating, the primitive humans were eating, used to take a lot of energy from the body, and it was then not passed on to the brain. And as more and more energy was available to the brain obviously evolved, and that is how the humans have evolved on to become what intelligent animals we are in the planet today. We believe this is exactly what cloud computing did 20 years ago to businesses like yourself. The whole startup culture that came in, the whole undifferentiated heavy lifting that was needed by companies to invest in capex, servers, networking, security, and whatnot, was taking away that whole thinking or the intelligent work that they wanted to do in their core business, whether it is BFSI or anything else. Now, what we believe is that generative AI essentially is that next transformative technology or change in the world, which is going to make the next leapfrogging of business models in the world around. I'm sure you are hearing a lot of global world leaders talk about it, that this is like the next internet era, this is like the next industrialization era, industry 4.0 and so on. And that is what we believe, that with massive amount of data, which we have been hearing in most of the panels, we've been hearing about scale being available, and the machine learning innovation, which has moved on from predictive to deterministic to non-deterministic, and generate images, voice, and documents, is essentially what is the transformative power of generative AI. Just to quickly introduce, I'm Samir Gupta. I lead business development for financial services at AWS. I've been an ex-banker for over 15 years in India, working with Citibank. So I have an amalgamation of being on the business side and now working as business development lead at leading hyperscaler AWS. First of all, a lot of you here sitting in the room would would be from these organizations. I want to thank you for all the customers who are working with us and transforming their businesses and challenging us as an organization as well to do more in terms of technology, so that you can focus on your core businesses. Many of your logos may not be there. Please go back to your organizations and become referenceable clients of ours, so that we could have your logos next time around on these slides as well. But I'll break this down into three subsections. What are our customers achieving? How are they achieving, and what are the benefits that they are getting out of it? And how to move from being a cloud-first organization to an AI-first organization. Very quickly, to just talk about what some of our customers were able to do in the last 2 to 3 quarters. Scale up from 1200 TPS to 2200 TPS within 5 minutes and scale back down. This was possible because of what they had architected and modernized their architectures on AWS. 25,000 APIs. I'll not go into each one of them, but giving you the scale and size of what some of our customers have been doing. We've, across many of our customers, we processed about 10 billion UPI transactions across apps, PSPs, and banks in September 25. More importantly, which was one of the biggest concerns of financial services institutions, you will see 2 pointers around 200 BCP or DR setups, cross AWS region setups by financial services customers, and 50 plus DR drills, not running for 1, 2, 3 days, but over weeks simultaneously. And there are a few of our customers who are actually going into active multi-region kind of setup as well. I'll talk about briefly what AI DLC means, but 50 plus of our customers have done Gen AI powered development, and I have few slides around that to talk about that. And more importantly, 120 plus of our customers engaged with industry ISVs, or independent software vendors as we call them, for modernization of their legacy stack. Not going too much into being from the industry, a lot of you know what are the key challenges or trends reshaping the financial services industry. Digital first engagement, much has been talked about that. Financial inclusion, the next 500 million customers are not going to come from the top 10, 15 metro cities or large cities, but they are going to come from the next 200, 500 towns and villages of the country. How does the industry prepare for that, whether it is banking, insurance, capital markets, and so on and so forth. Security and regulation, the more technology has evolved, even the security aspects and cyber security challenges have become that much more challenged. How are the BFSI customers looking at that, and notwithstanding even the regulated industry that BFSI itself is, how do we really see it? Now, focus areas as to how some of our customers are doing around it in terms of the first 2 pointers, leveraging generative AI and agentic AI is one big area where reimagining of processes is happening. Preparing for resiliency and scale, we spoke about the number of volumes of transactions that are happening, whether it is micro insurance, whether it is investments, whether it is 100 rupees SIP, or whether it is 5 rupee UPI transactions. It is already 22 billion transactions that happen on UPI every month. It is stated to become 100 billion transactions every month, which is what Dilip keeps talking about as the next big aspirational number. More so from a point of view of, as a regulated entity, what people keep talking about KYC. As a banker, as an ex-banker myself, I used to do KYC of corporate customers and even individuals in personal life. It was largely limited to getting the address proof, ID proof, and knowing what 10, 12 transactions in a month the customer is doing. Now imagine as a banker today, how much more information about that customer you have. Where is he or she spending? What kind of recurring payments are they doing? Where are they spending on their day-to-day life cycle from morning to afternoon to evening? What kind of products are they using and so on? There is so much more KYC actually that is available today that it's true KYC that is being achieved. Built-in security and trust, I mentioned about it, and I'll briefly touch upon what exactly is being done in those areas. But very quickly, technology, while it changes continuously and is pushing the industry in the new direction, starting from generative AI assistants to generative AI agents, to agentic AI systems. And there is a very nuanced and subtle difference between generative AI agents and agentic AI. We could have a detailed discussion at our kiosk outside if you want to understand that. But essentially, as basic tasks to more complex workflows, which is essentially the knowledge workers which all of us are in the room work on, is essentially getting accentuated with agentic AI systems available, which are fully autonomous, can reason, can talk to other agents, can talk to humans, and then move on forward. And many examples were given earlier as well in the sessions. But what essentially is the industry doing? And they are pushing the technology in the new direction, whether it is employee productivity with code correction, testing, code generation, in the technology world, reducing the technical debt, and so on, to business workflows. A lot of you are testing out those agents which are there in terms of customer assistance, contact center analytics, sentiment analysis of those calls. Imagine if today you are doing only 10% of your call center calls as audit, you could potentially do with generative AI 100% of those calls as analytics. And in the previous session, there was an example which was given that you convert voice into text, send it to generative AI, it will do the sentiment analysis. It will also identify some of those examples or suggestions or product feedback that customers would have given to your call center agents, but they would not have captured it in their CRM system. You could get those insights, see patterns around them, and feed it to your business teams and product teams to say, hey, this is a pattern that we are seeing which customers are giving suggestions on, but we are not able to capture them because humans are busy in logging in that complaint and moving on and closing that ticket and so on. So that's the power which it could achieve. And essentially, innovation and transformation in terms of advanced research and trading. There was an example, I think Amol mentioned around that while the session was going on, Premal's LLM would have done all of that. There is a real life example of that. NVIDIA released their results. 70, 80 pages of results were declared. Even before human analysts could analyze, generative AI analyzed that, identified some of those challenges, and their stock price was impacted due to some of those observations that happened. So that is happening in real world, where hundreds and hundreds of pages of documentation can actually be analyzed and look beyond numbers and trends and patterns and sentiments and seen as to what really is going to be the real impact of that. Moving on very quickly in terms of what our customers are doing, whether it is core systems modernization, core banking, LOS, LMS, digital channels was a journey anyways for over a decade that our customers have been taking, but embracing open source and cloud native architectures. I mean, I was just reading, I think RBI governor has urged the banking ecosystem to reduce their cost of operations, and embracing open source and getting rid of licensing costs that your application stacks are spending on, or even otherwise getting in so much more efficiency and automation in your business processes is an area where our customers are focusing, whether it is Zerodha, Angel One, Yes Bank. Unprecedented scale management. I spoke about the 100 billion UPI transactions that may happen every month in probably 2 to 3 years' time. How is the industry getting ready to prepare for that? And similar volumes will be seen in microinsurance, similar volumes will be seen in investments, similar volumes will be seen in every other plethora of business transactions that consumers are doing. And that is where scale comes into play. Building secure and compliant workloads on AWS, whether it is security threat landscape, customers like Razorpay and Axis Bank have been building their DDoS setups on AWS, providing that undifferentiated heavy lifting that we as one of the most comprehensive cloud provider can give you, so that you don't have to spend your energies on those cybersecurity threats or security challenges, and we take care of that for you. Moving on to how are they doing it and the benefits. Very quickly, financial institutions are taking 3+1 approaches. I'll talk about that one approach as well. Augmenting your core. How are you building modern interfaces on top of your existing cores? Creating personalization, hyper-personalization, personalization to the level of 1, which is possible now. Migrating your core, moving on from one provider to a more microservices-driven, cloud-native, headless architecture. Replacing your core completely. And then launching a completely new bank, or in any other sub-industry, launching a new digital NBFC, launching a new digital insurtech, and so on. And there are many examples of companies which are saying that while my legacy continues to be that, let me create a parallel digital-only interface for my customers so that I can shift my existing customers onto this new platform and continue to offer the best-in-class which customers need. Now, why are they choosing AWS for these? And as we speak to a lot of our customers, it starts with cost as one of the consideration factors, that yes, we will have cost reduction, but there are so much more that they are doing, and I will quickly take you through some of the examples of numbers. You could probably take pictures, or we could share those details later on for your internal consumption. Cost savings, 47% cost reduction, 12% reduction in total IT spend, in terms of what our customers have been able to achieve, 40% reduction in over-provisioned infrastructure. The over-provisioning of infrastructure that you do to manage the scale is not needed anymore. Staff productivity, a very important aspect, not just for technology staff, but even for business staff, and I will talk about that. But even in technology staff, we have seen a 66% increase in virtual machines managed per server administrator in your organization, which essentially means that you don't have to scale your technology infrastructure as you need to scale your business. 69% decrease in operational, downtime of unplanned activities, 54% reduction in annual unplanned outages in that respect, which is a very important aspect. And now coming on to more software development lifecycle or a product launch lifecycle that you may go through in your organization, how starting from requirement and analysis all the way down to deploying and maintenance of that, how cloud is helping our customers reduce 43% in terms of time to market of new applications. And now imagine if you are able to launch a new product instead of 6 months, in 6 weeks, which CEO or a product head or a business head wouldn't want that kind of a benefits coming out. And these are some of the examples that we've been able to work with our customers and would be happy to work with you. I spoke about that AI DLC piece and software development lifecycle. AWS is talking about a new concept, which is AI-driven development lifecycle, AI DLC, SDLC moving on to AI DLC. There are those challenges if you are any of you from technology domain, and you would be hearing from your technology folks that either they are using just a coding platform where some part of code is getting generated and taken into your organization. It does not know what the rest of the code is, or they are doing vibe coding where they're starting completely by typing and generating entire set of code from AI. And both these approaches are not working. it needs a human in the loop. Very, very specific example that we spoke about, that it needs people to come together and understand what the agents are doing. And this is where AI-driven development comes in, where you actually are developing and breaking down the 5 life cycles of traditional SDLC into an AI DLC. This starts with right from the business team members involved in identifying what the requirement is, what product they want to launch, what are the user wanting, what is it that they would call user stories for their product feature, and then having that umbrella environment in which everything continues to remain within that same closed environment and goes on all the way into the development lifecycle. And because it remains in one single environment, all the memes that we see that the customer asks something, product manager then defines something, and what you end up getting is completely different. All of those things are also getting taken care because everything is working in the construct of one single environment. Very quickly, I'll move on in terms of how do we do these AI DLC workshops. We could speak on this at a later stage, but how to become AI first. We're talking about 6 key pillars of how do we become, how do an organization becomes AI first. And very quickly, it begins from the top. I think the previous speaker also spoke about that as to how AI needs to be embraced. A very simple example I'll tell you, when digitalization happened of physical processes, many organizations exactly copy-pasted or replicated their physical forms into digital forms. And imagine, I'll just take 2 to 3 minutes more to wind up this. Imagine that in a physical form where you were entering PIN code, you were entering city, town, state, is not needed in digital world, because the moment you enter the PIN code, you could actually fill every of the other details. And this is what the experience change happened for all of us as consumers, where we were not required to do a heavy lifting of all these forms when digitalization happened. But the whole journey started off when companies actually replicated exactly their forms in the digital forms. The same challenge is going to come with agentic AI as well. We are all imagining the processes that whatever we were doing today in workflow management, if we put agents for each one of them, it will be an agentic process. But with agentic process, you can actually have simultaneous agents which could work simultaneously on a particular process. There could be certain processes which will have ripple effects on once one particular agent finishes the task, it needs to feed into the other agent. But you have to reimagine that entire process, and that is what is the whole adaptive process which will come in and redefining. We have a 7-pointer model as well in terms of where all you need to focus on. But more on that, we can discuss separately. But very quickly to talk about the example that was shown, Amazon believes in flywheels of success. This is one of the flywheel of becoming an AI-driven organization. You start small, which is exactly what was mentioned in the previous section as well. And then you go around this flywheel to learn, repeat, and accelerate. And this is essentially what the whole process comes in, where you are identifying your proof of value and then giving a decision point of whether this is good enough for me to take it to the next level or deploy it for my customers and then keep it. One more example was given that the way you train your internal employees, you need to train agents for a considerable period of time before you make the agent to work. And this is one of the reasons why most POCs to production failures that we keep hearing about are happening. Unless you are actually thinking through the whole process, you would never be successful in those AI use cases. The methodology that we follow for migration and modernization, there is a detailed process of assessing your existing workload, mobilizing all the resources that are needed, and migrating and modernizing. We would want to discuss with you in terms of all your initiatives that you have for your next financial year as your planning is happening, and take this forward. To the end, I would just say we just need to take the industry to the next stage. The time is now. Thank you so much for listening to me, and happy to have you and host you to show some of the agentic AI demos very specifically for financial services industry. I would request if you could just take 30 seconds to scan this QR code. We are working backwards from customer organization. We want feedback from you as to what you liked, what you did not like, so that we can improve for our future sessions. And if there is anything that we can do for you, we would be happy to connect with you. Thank you so much.